Was jamming over there?
Now I'm on the. Yeah, he has us muted.
Well, since we're muted, is it wrong?
You know, baby.
Well,
6:35.
I wasn't ready for that one either. It's a Thursday. I would say it's motorcycle time for him.
Second, all in favor? Alright, so the minutes from my April meeting have been approved. And so at this time, I would turn it over to Mr. One. Are you ready or? Okay.
All right, so what we're gonna do today is kind of, when we ended our last meeting, we talked about going back and just taking a look at our meetings from the month of March and the month of April. So we're gonna start off with a recap of what those, some questions and some thoughts as it relates to those meetings. The first meeting that we had was in April with Mayor Castleberry, Charles Finkenbeiner, city attorney, and Chief Tapley, and then, which is our police chief. And then we followed up in April with a couple of our city council members, Alderman Isby and Alderwoman Isby and Alderman Hawkins. So we'll just kind of open it up for discussion with the few questions that we have. And the first question would be, what were some of your takeaways from the first session with the mayor, police chief, and the city attorney? And then we'll go into the second part of that question after we kind of talk about the first.
Well, comparing this year and last year, I think that was a productive way to spend our time. Because I think it's important for us to kind of have a relationship with those individuals. May it be council, mayor, police chief. Because moving forward, I think that that's going to be beneficial to us and kind of the work that we're trying to do. So I thought it was worthwhile. Unfortunately, I got heckled for missing Sheila and Andy's time whenever I was in Dallas. They both texted me and gave me a hard time about that. But from the April meeting, I thought it was worthwhile. Probably our best meeting yet.
Go ahead. For me, I enjoyed getting here. Probably Mr. Fingerbound, just understanding the legals behind things. For me, it's always interesting why things work, how they work, as well as hearing what Mayor Castleberry's kind of outlook, because he kind of went into what he kind of wanted from the board and things like that, just hearing that part of it. And then, of course, with resource, I mean, I'm used to school, with Chief Tapley, just hearing his side of things from some of the questions. We asked him some pretty, I mean, not tough questions, but some data questions. So learning about what's happening, what they're doing, things like that. And also just kind of identifying, I guess, some, lack of a better word, some vague areas between the information we ask, what they're doing, and then how could that be pulled away? So, and then what would be our role, if any, in acquiring that information or disseminating that information or even understanding it, and for what purpose? Kind of finding our role is the other thing I thought about as we listened to both the first group and the second group. It's like, what's our role with connecting the community to either one of those organizations?
I would say the biggest thing for me would be just, kind of learning a little bit more about like how things work on the inside versus the outside, because you always have, your view of, maybe they're not doing enough or how things should be done or what you think that should be done. But, just like when the city gets money from the state to do certain things, and like if they don't do it, like they can't reallocate it and just throw it other places, they actually have to do what they said or give it back. So just like learning the ins and outs of stuff like that, like I think that's big. I think that was a good thing that I liked.
Yeah. Because as a normal citizen, I don't know that.
Yeah, you don't.
And then you just mad because you're like, and you got all that money, you gonna refuse the money from rent? I mean, you see that, and that's how the headlines are written. And it's almost just to anger people, but you don't understand that if it's not used this way, you just can't say, oh, because a lot of people used to household budgets that honestly aren't ran well. And so you take money from one area and just throw it over here in entertainment because you want to go be entertained instead of paying Conway Corp. But that ends up an issue. But yeah, that
Especially
part.
when you see that they're like, oh, we get, well, like if you just pop in on meetings, like especially like city council when they air them and you see, oh, we got this amount of money just set aside for this and that, and you're like, well, there's a big old pothole that would ruin your car at the movie theater. Like, what's up with that?
Like a lake.
But then that's a private thing. That's not there. It's not the city's job to fix. It's up to, I guess, the town square area. Whoever owns that. So it's like, just stuff like that. When you see when they talk about having money in places and things that you want to see the city do, and they're not doing anything, but they really can't do anything with that money. So,
Which can still be just as frustrating because the problem's still there.
Mhm.
But I think from an education standpoint, that's good for us to kind of be able to relay that back. Like, hey,
yeah,
this specific population isn't aware that funds can be restricted to a certain use. It's not to, I think you've made a good point about, it's not like it all comes into my bank account and I can spend it however I want it. It's like, this is for this, this is for this, this is for this, or this is for the one of two things. That third thing that you want to do, sorry, can't happen. It's not as much as we want to do it, we can't do it. So I think that's good.
Has the city ever did like or we could do it like a Did You Know series? And kind of like a Did You Know? You have? Okay, cool. Okay. And maybe I missed it. I'm sorry.
It's on the top of Shawana's list, did you?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I'm just thinking like.
We'll get to it.
A Did You Know with like a
Come
brief
on.
fact.
We've done some with them a little sporadically, did you
Yeah.
know, and with a little information, but that is something that is on the list to kind of just put facts out there that people may not know. And that's kind of on our list on down here too, to kind of talk to you guys about like with that as far as like other sessions and things like that we'll could potentially do on a larger scale, but I'm not gonna jump the gun, but yes,
Yeah.
that is, because sometimes people just don't know. And I think that was all of it has been good so far, as far as the takeaways, because some stuff may be a good thing to do, but it just may be something we're not, able to do, or that's in our, with to do, so, yeah.
Or they may not know where to look, where to find certain ordinances, certain laws that we have, so it would be good for them to have a general, here's where you go for this. So
Yeah, that's good. Anybody else on that question?
We're learning about the pools. I say the pool, it's more than the pool. But
No,
I'm
it's fine.
listening, cause my son, just the other day, we rode by there, he was just like, so when that pool gonna be over there? So for us,
We
it's the
wanna know
pool.
too.
It's the
Yeah,
pool.
Yeah, so, but learning about that, and that was pretty, cause I saw the videos, I watched all that, but just kind of the ins and outs and what went on with just going through the process. Cause it's kind of like, the more knowledge you have, the more you understand, and it's like, and the more patience you exhibit, because it didn't happen overnight. But otherwise, and for me, it was the funding part about how to get kids there who can afford it, and the things that are in place for that with the transit plans. So all of that was beneficial as well.
That's one thing that I've said it on multiple occasions. That was kind of a shocker for me in starting city government. You expect it to be like microwave fast, like I'm pulling through the drive-through, but it's one of those things to where it's like a crock pot where you have to cook it for 8 to 12 hours to get, to get the product that you're wanting. So it moves slow, but once the product comes out, then it's you look at it and it's worth it. Does anybody else have any thoughts or takeaways on the first one? Well, I guess we kind of tied the two together. Do you believe the sessions were beneficial, and the information was beneficial, and why so? But we kind of.
That's why I left, because I was like, I answered 1, 2, 3
I
questions
was
in
like,
one.
yeah.
So I guess we did our overall thoughts on there too. Does anybody else have any thoughts in general?
Yeah, to go to the next one. I think they are great sessions, and that we should see more of these as it relates to city operations. But I think the more informed we are, the better we're able to have a different perspective of problems. Because like a lot of, I know he has a different perspective because he works with the I just went blind.
Chamber.
The chamber, where my whole perspective is based off education, because that's, and then his is different based off what he does. So, but having the city's perspective gives us a better way to, a better angle to look at problems, because a lot of our solutions make sense to us, but from a city perspective, they won't even be able to be implemented because it's not something the city to do. So the more I feel like we learn, the more efficient we could be with brainstorming and coming up with solutions, because we'll know what can work and what could not work. Kind of like when we had the Slack group, just little things, which just blew my mind. I'm just like, okay, but the more we learn, the better I think we'll be able to solve problems and be more efficient with our time, which we all know is limited. So that would be my why on why we should continue to learn.
Well, and kind of building on that, we all have not only different jobs, but we have different networks. And so within those, there's some things that people are more concerned about than others. And so it's like, okay, well, person A is worried about parks. Person B is worried about, well, why don't we have enough police officers? Or on the other side, we have too many, or what, like everyone kind of has a different group that has different issues that they're worried about. So then we can kind of bring that information back and say, hey, look, this is why it's this process to hire police officers. This is why it's going to take too long to have the aquatic center.
Working on it.
Because everybody wants it yesterday.
Yes.
Also liked, it just so happened that the ones that were able to attend the meeting represented 2 diverse groups. And I appreciate the fact that our council is diverse as it relates to diversity in our council. And would like to see more of those meetings with females, males, different race, ethnicities, to see what their experience on the council has been. Have there been any challenges that they have faced when it comes to maybe their gender or their race, for us to better gain an understanding of what they go through on a day-to-day basis. I think that's beneficial to us as a
Yeah.
group.
So we kind of did that strategically.
Smart.
So Andy and Sheila are the longest serving. So they'll have a different perspective from someone like Ann, who just was
Yeah.
appointed.
So good.
And then Mary's position is coming up, so we're gonna wait on that, and then that would be a brand new alternate.
Yeah.
So that'll be really good for y'all to gauge that person because
Perfect.
they'll be new to the job. So you'll see, a lot different, where Andy and Sheila, they know most of the answers, and so maybe someone coming on,
That's a good-
it'll be a little different.
Good way to handle that. I like that.
Anybody else? Like we all hanging on today.
I mean, I agree with everything I heard. I agree with everything I heard.
So if you had one takeaway, what would your one takeaway be and or action item that you could take back?
And they just gave me hers.
One takeaway from the sessions that we
Mhm. Something I can take back.
I mean, I would say just don't take for granted that, or maybe not take for granted is the right word, but to realize that as much as a city department or the city as a whole can try to communicate with people, that there will still be people that need additional information. Like you can put it on in the newspaper, you can put it on Facebook, you can put it on Twitter, you can put it on Instagram, you can put it on whatever, and there will still be people like,
Still
wait,
comment. Did y'all
why
fix
is that park
siren?
gotta be there? What's going on with our roads? Like, so just that the more ways you can think about sharing information, the better.
Yes.
And even if it gets redundant for the people that are paying attention, it's still, I think, helpful to have that reminder that whatever is happening, or did you know that, and I think that's a great thing that y'all are gonna do, because people sometimes forget. I'm still trying to figure out I don't recycle because I can't figure out what's recyclable and what's not. And sanitation Sanitation does a great job at communicating, but I'm like, okay, but when I'm at I'm like, all right, I know this water bottle can go in there, but everything else, I'm like, okay, this had food in it, it can't go.
No.
Yeah.
Can't.
No.
Well, I'm gonna say when the chief talked, I mean, I appreciate his honesty in telling us that they haven't had any cultural diversity, but I didn't feel good about that answer. And at some point, I like to revisit that because I know the last time I trained and we sat at a table with the diversity people from UCA, it was 2017. And I'd like to revisit that one day when they decide they're gonna pick that training back up.
So
So
I
I didn't feel good about that.
can tell you that we plan to pick that back up.
Okay.
And I think they've had diversity training in some aspect that's intertwined with some of their training, but just a true diversity, they used to have nothing but diversity. So
Okay.
it's structured to
Okay.
where there may be a training and it includes diversity, but we did a diversity training that was just diversity.
Okay.
So I don't think they've had just a strictly diversity
You remember
training.
that, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Okay,
So
I'm
yeah,
like,
so I
you
think they've
remember
had,
that.
but again, that's something that will definitely, they'll pick that back up. And diversity is probably better in person, I think.
Mhm.
So just from the training that I've received, it's always, we receive it online and it's good, but to be able to
Mhm.
have it interactive with the instructors has been really good, has been really helpful for not only Conway Police, but just staff in general. So that is something that is on his list of things.
Okay.
And when we do that, I will let you guys know.
Okay. Okay.
And this may be a side note, but with that, like, is it public? I'm not sure it could be public information. How does it relate to the public, the trainings that the officers go through, so that they are aware that there are things happening? And then going back to his question, in what formats? And so maybe that's something, and I'm not saying I know, and I'm not the best at social media. So it could very well be happening, and I'm oblivious to it. But I just think that's one of the things that would be beneficial to know is that, hey, this week we did training over this with some of our officers.
And so they do that on their social media channel,
Okay.
so on Conway Police Department, and I think Lacey does it, she's our new PIO, and she is new to that job, but Latricia, posted everything about what they did.
Great job.
So, all their day-to-day activities was kind of just posted, but she came on during COVID, so kind of different, we were all things COVID. So she's having to slowly but surely get back into, hey, this is what they're doing on a daily, So yeah, we can definitely make sure she adds that if they're doing training, we host our own academy. So we normally post about that, and academy is just training. So just kind of going through that in a day by day, hey, they're testing, they're, testing for this, whatever. Yeah, she can definitely add that. And we can always share that information and then use, you guys to share that
That's what I was
information
thinking.
as well. So,
Yeah.
so everyone's audience is different, so that way it'll get to a different audience. Because we'll probably share it from, Conway PD's page and then go from there.
Because I was thinking, people not gonna be on the PD page.
No.
They have a very big following.
Right.
They have a very, very big following.
Do
Yeah.
Well, not for the information that I'm like,
Not
I
that
follow
purpose,
too,
right?
but yeah, and even like a one pager. I mean, because I'm thinking like, if I see this come up with things that we're doing to make our offices better, and just a list of the trainings. I mean, even the double credentialing, I think is very fascinating, as well as a good way to show that, hey, we're not just living by these standards, but these are also standards.
And that's maybe, Lacey is a new PIO, so maybe that's something, we can have a conversation with her about just things that the Diversity Council would like to see, as she go through, and she's putting stuff together. It's like, hey, be mindful that, we would like to see as much of this as possible. So keep us in mind when you're doing, you're having them, take pictures or they're doing something that to let us know. So we can do that.
And tell her to make a plug for our SROs, because all the people like, well, I want to connect to a police officer. My kid's scared. I mean, when you got them in the building, it's not that that's a cure-all,
Right.
but that is an access point for most kids that are school age. Just so, I mean, that's there. Not a cure-all, but definitely a place to connect.
They're probably the most highlighted on that page is
Yeah.
SROs.
Mhm.
So
They
they're
are.
probably the most highlighted, to most people know as our SROs because they are highly highlighted, so.
Yeah, because they don't receive the criticism, so might as well just kind of highlight the other part when you have the
Right.
opportunity, because the criticism is not gonna be, a short list of that, so.
And I'll be sure to start sharing more of their information on the diversity page as well. Because I know I see quite a few of you all share stuff from the diversity page. So I'll make sure I share it there so you guys can share it from that page as well. I'll start with it.
We get off Facebook. I got you.
Need Twitter, so.
Right.
You need to get a Facebook.
On tweet.
No.
Me either, I will read.
It's not for me.
And maybe for the aquatic center, the plan for supplementing families that may not can afford to go. So that would be an action item that, because I know the scholarship, I know, and even how I could give. I mean, how people could give.
Yeah.
Because anybody can give on any level. But that would be something that, I don't know how the city's set up, but you could start collecting funds a little early, because it ain't gonna be a shortage of people who need
Did you
access.
say there was a family that was,
Yeah, there's a family, yeah.
that's gonna be donated to that?
Mhm. I remember that.
Wonderful idea.
But because you could even, if they got swimming lessons, those things could be help paid for through scholarship. I'm not sure how far those funds reach for the family, or
They'll reach pretty far.
they're gonna reach pretty far. So then the transportation then will be a next thing that could be looked at.
And hopefully I'll have some public hearings in July
Yeah.
on microtransit and jumpstart
So that's-
that in August, so.
How many jobs is that facility gonna give to the city?
If I had to guess, I would say 100 to start off with. And then as we grow, because we're only doing a portion of the building, so the whole 125,000 square feet won't be used immediately. So as we grow, we'll grow with staff as well. So, we'll definitely start off with at least 100. It'll be this. Our Parks Department right now is 100 people, full and part-time. That center will have about the same to run that whole center.
It's a good starting point.
I guess one more thing from me. I would kind of want to know how they want us to plug in and connect. Like, how does this board aid them in what they do from their boards? Because, I mean, how could we assist the police department? How could we assist the councilman? How do we assist them? Or how do they see our role in the city in order to bridge the gap in whatever area they think may be bridged? Kind of getting their perspectives on our roles. Because I know we got what we wrote on the paper, but how do they see us actually applying our roles in the city?
And involving us. I think that would be big. I mean, you have us here, so use us.
That's
Yeah.
what we got you now.
And they may need to discuss that, and actually probably get a better feeling of what we are here for and discuss, their needs when it comes to us. And so I think that's a tremendous idea.
That's good. And we can kind of talk about the roles and the operation. That's on our to-do, on the list as well to talk about. Did anybody else have another takeaway or action item before we move to the next question? Are we good on that? Okay. So would you guys be interested in being a part of the Citizens Academy for the Conway Police Department and seeing it from a different perspective when it's back open?
Yes,
Yes.
because your COVID ruined my experience.
Okay.
Oh, were you that class?
We started, and then
Yeah.
we started, and then it was like, all right, sorry, we're not gonna start again.
Oh, that was horrible. So sorry.
Did you do that?
No, I mean,
Yeah,
I want to do it.
Yeah.
It was good. I think we got,
I enjoyed.
I think we were
was in the
4
first
weeks
class.
in, maybe. I think, I
How
can't,
long is it?
I think it's,
It was several weeks.
Is it 10?
I-
Or
8
eight?
or
I think
10
it's,
weeks.
I was gonna say it's either 10 or 12, but it's
Yeah.
probably,
It's pretty
yeah.
good.
It's like one day a
really
week.
good. It's really good. So my thought was to engage with the chief and the mayor about an upcoming class whenever they do it, and then have you guys as part of that first class that we start back with.
I definitely want to do it.
And I've done it, Shawan, so the spots could be for people.
I'm sure we can still add you to it.
Huh?
I'm sure we can still add you to it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't mind, but I want to take somebody. I mean, because I know it was limited last time, but that's been a couple of years ago.
We probably do it for the council as a whole, so you
Oh,
can
that'd
do
be
it as a
cool.
group.
I enjoyed it.
And we'll talk about what's next. I just would encourage you all to either watch online or you can attend in person the next city council meeting on the 24th. May 24th. You can view it it's on YouTube and it's on Facebook on those Tuesdays. So it'll be the 24th, which is a Tuesday, starts at 6 o'clock. I don't think we have a committee. We have a committee meeting.
Not today, we don't.
That may change. I'll send you guys the email if it changes, but
Okay.
we'll say 6 o'clock. If we have a committee meeting, the committee meeting start at 5:30 and the council meeting will start at 6:30 if there is a committee meeting. And then our next council meeting will be the 9th of June. So we can add that.
I'm sorry, can we talk a little bit about what we will talk about that meeting so that they come in and know kind of like what our next steps will be? Just a little bit.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about our June 9th meeting?
Mhm.
Yes. So June 9th, we're gonna do we're gonna talk about our action plan. So our action plan for 2023. Kind of getting that off the ground, starting to take a look at that and seeing what we want to do so we can have enough or plenty or ample time to plan it, and how we want to outline that, as well as one of the big things that we were talking about, or events that we were talking about, is Diversity Day, and ironing some of that out, as well as our community roundtable that we were looking at. So those will be some of the topics of discussion for our June 9th meeting, and action items for planning. And just,
I will say for the action plan 2023, Shawana and I kind of did the action plan 2022. And so we kind of want to make sure that you guys are involved with the 2023, and that information is kind of gauged through you all, and not, we just gave the first, year to kind
to
of
get it off the ground.
get it off the ground and get it going. But now kind of going back and looking at it and say, hey, this is what we would like to see in some of those meetings. And then we just kind of, together, put that together for a calendar for 2023. It always gives us plenty of notice when we know if we need to get, speakers or whatever. So that'll give us plenty of time to start working on stuff, especially like an event, if we want to do an event. So it just gives us time to work on those
Plan on
events
it,
Are
in-house.
we still thinking about doing that day like August, September this year, maybe?
This year,
Yeah.
It's next year.
you talking
We're
about for
gonna do it
Culture
next
Day,
year, a
Diversity Day?
Mhm.
We're doing it next year. We don't have enough time to plan that this year and have it go like we really need it to go.
Because Diversity Month is April.
We are due, now, we kind of agreed upon this, if I'm not misunderstanding our communication earlier in the year, that our goal this year was to make sure that we did the roundtable by the close of the year. And that was coming in 2023. Am I remembering that correctly?
Round table and just meet as a group,
That was the
which I
goal.
think we're doing great.
And
That-
I wasn't going to
that was a
say, I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't gonna say- I was like, this is going too good.
So that was a goal.
That was a
before
goal.
we did
That is the
anything,
goal, yeah. for me.
Was to have a group of people that were connected
And
and
consistent.
were
Mhm.
consistent and showing up.
Yeah.
So that was, so now we got that,
We did.
then I think in next meeting, we then move towards events outside of the round table.
I'm going to miss the next two meetings, so other than that. Just
But
kidding.
you still
Always.
I'm
consistent.
just kidding.
Always.
I'm just.
It's
I'm about to say, I wasn't even
I'm
gonna
just
get,
kidding.
you still consistent. I was like, you could drop some brainstorming
Yeah.
and Slack, but we ain't gonna talk about it.
Listen, listen. Slack, I don't.
Yeah, I got it.
It's outer space.
Yeah,
This is out of space.
well, you can email your ideas
Okay.
and we'll
That works.
definitely make
No,
sure
I'll be.
we, present those.
I'm just being honorary.
Oh, good.
And I will share with everybody also, so our boards and commissions are all being broadcast on our channel 22 for the city. So they can't delay when they air those channels or start the airing. So it starts at 5:30 like it would a regular programming show. So when we're here, we'll be having to start right at 5:30. So if we need to talk about maybe we need to adjust the meeting time and move our meetings to maybe 6 or something like that, that will is something we can talk about to see if that works better for your schedules. Because I know sometimes people are pressed, pushing to get here. So if we need to adjust that, that's something that we can decide on our next meeting as well.
Okay.
If we want to look at changing the time.
When does the broadcasting via Channel 22 start?
It's already started.
Sorry, okay.
You're on channel 22 now?
We're on channel 22 now.
Coming to you live from Channel 22.
Channel 22.
Diversity Advisory.
Of course.
So that's all I initially had. I'm gonna turn it over to Felicia.
So before I start with the roles, I do want to say that you guys seem very interested in the projects that we have going on for the city. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of just 5 that we have. So of course, we have the community center. That project actually officially kicked off today. We had our first kickoff meeting. We have a preliminary design for that building. Shawana, maybe before we start on that project, we can look at a date if you guys want to walk through and just kind of see the building and see what it could be. So that project is starting, and that project will take 18 to 24 months. So that's a long project, but it's going to be, it'll be definitely well worth the wait. So, and then we're doing a soccer complex over by Curtis Walker Park. It also kicked off today, and we're hoping that it takes 12 to 18 months, and it'll replace Centennial Park that we currently have. It'll have 10 fields. We're hoping to get turf on those fields, splash pads, pavilions, lots of parking, because that's always big for everyone. And so hopefully that park will just complement Curtis Walker since they're so close together. And then we kicked off the fire station project today as well. So Fire Station 3 will move to the old Smitty's building. The city is purchasing that building, and we're gonna put Fire Station number 3, we're gonna move it off of David Drive and put it there. So that kicked off today as well. And then we are doing Pompey Park, which Pompey Park, no one actually knows where it is. It is beside Chick-fil-A and Walmart, the neighborhood market. That particular part of the park is Pompey Park, and we're gonna put a Veterans Appreciation Monument, POMPE. We're gonna put a Veterans Appreciation Monument in that park, so that'll be, we was gonna put it in a roundabout, but we're gonna put it in that park. And that project also kicked off today. So
Wow.
all of those kicked off today, so those will start being ongoing. You'll start seeing a lot of park projects moving, and then of course the overnight emergency shelter, which is Shawana's project, kicked off last week, and they've already started and are already ahead of schedule because we've had such nice weather. So hopefully that'll be opening within the next 9 months. But I will be sure to keep you guys in the loop on projects just like that we're doing, because we do a lot of projects. Anything, and I think like when we talk about your roles for the Diversity Council, I don't want anyone to think that it's our intent for you guys to speak for the city of Conway. It's never our intent for you guys to speak for diversity, because that's what Shawana does. I think your role is to advise Shawana, the mayor, council, on things that you would like to see happen, or things you have, you know, whether they be suggestions or just comments to us or Shawana. I think that that's, you know, your role. I think your role will evolve as we go along, because I think now as a cohesive group, it's just kind of gelling. And you can just see that it's gelling. So even when we sit in the office and we're talking about your action plan, we're excited because we can tell that this is going to work. So again, I don't want anyone to ever think, I know a lot of people ask you guys questions, and so the question seems really simple, but it's really not that simple to someone who does not understand the ins and outs of city government. And so it's really hard for us to give you an answer, because I want to make sure that when we're explaining something to a citizen, that they understand the full package. So I don't want to give them an answer because I, you know, want them to go away. I want to give them an answer where they fully understand, you know, we're the city of Conway and we do this. And they're the Chamber of Commerce and they do this. And Conway Corp also does that. And together, you know, we're doing this project. So I want them to understand the big picture so that they don't feel like it kind of doesn't make sense. So I never want you guys to feel like if you guys have a question, you want to ask us we will answer all your questions. But if you want us to, and I don't want you to feel like you're throwing that person off on us, like that's kind of just what we do. Like that's kind of our roles, is to, you know, make sure that if we don't know something, then we can get an answer. People ask this question all the time. They're really city council questions, and we say, you know, we'll get you an answer from, you know, the council that represents your ward, because they'll be able to tell you, you know, when that's going to happen or why that hasn't happened. Or they'll just, you know, they'll talk with the mayor about, hey, can we get that on the list because of XYZ? So sometimes it's a more complicated answer. And I always want when people call us, I want them to feel like we answered their question and we answered it fully. And we also always leave with, you know, you can also call us back. So you can always call us back. You can always reach back out to us. So I don't want you to think your role is to, you know, answer diversity questions for the city of Conway. That's kind of, you know, mayor and Shawana and city council all do that. But people will ask you questions because you're
yeah.
on a diversity council.
I talked with Shawana
And
about
so-
that. And said,
And
"Hey,
so
what do
we
you me
want to
say?"
give you enough information where you feel like you could answer that question and you could say, you can call Felicia and Shawana, if you have any more questions. They will be more than glad to meet with you, whatever the case may be. You can meet with the mayor. The mayor is, he's very open to meetings all the time. So it's nothing for us to, gather him for a meeting with anyone regarding diversity or anything for that matter. But I just want to make sure that you guys know that you're here to assist us, mostly Shawana, in an advisory capacity so that we understand from different voices. And it's not just our voices, but it's different voices. And that's why I put this council together, was to have a unique perspective of diversity, not from our point of view, from a unique perspective from this council. So I just kind of want to make sure that you guys understand that. And then I think as we move, as we move further into things that we do, I think that you'll start understanding the city's role in things and what we do and why we don't do some things. I think some of the takeaways I took from the meeting was you guys had a lot of questions, a lot of good feedback for us, and I think that when you talk to the aldermen, you see that when you suggest ideas that, we're going to listen to those ideas, gaming in the community center, why we can't buy a skate park. City of Russellville didn't buy their skate park, a private entity did. So there are some things that cities can do, but there are some things that the cities can't do. And, economic development, we have a small part of that, but most economic development is done by the Chamber of Commerce. So there's always partnerships, but there's also just, the city provides services, and that's what we do best. And then we have a funding for parks. And so we have, world-class parks. So those are things that we can do. But I also want you guys to understand that big picture. So if you have questions or comments for us, we are more than happy to answer those, because we do want you guys to know and understand the inside, so that, because it's slow. Like the overnight emergency shelter, we started on it technically in 2017, through the Homeless Advisory Council. And it just took this long to break ground, because it's just a long process for us. But we're still working. I thought we worked just as hard all that time, but it seems like we're working very hard now. So things are slow, but there's always a method to the madness. The aquatic center, people have talked about a pool since I've worked for the city. So that's 18 and a half years that I know of. And it's just now coming to where we can provide that. And we're super excited about that project. So I just want you guys to understand that if you guys have any questions, we are available to you guys at all times. And if the public is asking you questions, you don't feel like you can give an answer, just say, hey, but let me call Felicia, let me hook you guys up, let me, introduce you guys, and then we'll get them an answer. So whether it's, good, bad, or ugly. So we'll definitely talk to anybody. So I think that as you guys, sit and listen to different council members and different departments, again, Shawana and I mediating the meetings, I think that it'll just come full circle what we can do and what we can't do. Because we do kind of want to have this council involved with Shawana's position a lot and what she does, and kind of, filter that into the city should do X, Y, Z. And then we're going to say, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And then that puts us to work. So we do want to kind of have those conversations, and we've talked about a few things for the council. Because again, we get really excited when we talk about things that the council can do, and then intertwine that with the city of Conway. So we know that that's going to happen. We think that this is a great, opportunity for the council to take advantage of all. We have so many things going on, and get you guys involved in any way you feel comfortable with, but knowing that we're always there to back you up in any way we can. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that you guys didn't feel, under any pressure to answer any, questions that you're not comfortable with answering, because they get complicated. They get very complicated. They start off very simple, and then they get a little complicated. So it's always easier sometimes if they're directed to us. And then if you guys even if you want to, someone has a question, you want to bring that person and you want to come along just so you'll know too. we will do that. So it's really easy. So you guys haven't
Giving it to you.
Yeah.
More than happy.
So that's kind of what I wanted to just make sure that you guys understood, and then just kind of thinking about the projects, just kind of keeping you guys updated on our project as we go along and get started on those, because we'll start on a lot of different projects. So and we'll just kind of keep a list of those as we start and have an update on those. So.
Agree.
Hey, with mentioning the fire station, do you know if they have another like hiring process or thing coming up soon?
I think we just did one.
You did just do one?
We just did one, but I'll ask Lisa when the next one is.
Did they hire some new people from that one?
I think they just did the testing.
Yeah, I don't think it's complete yet.
I don't
They
think it's
haven't
complete
completed the
either.
process. We're still working.
Okay,
But I'll
because
find out.
I have people that's asked about that.
And that's something I would
Some
be mindful of
diversity
to
there.
send y'all. Like I said, when like groundbreakings and different things like that, I'll put that on the to-do list to send
Fire testing.
fire testing and police testing. So you all will know like what's going on and kind of help spread the
I
word.
think that one needs help majorly. We have no diversity there.
And I will say too, I think too with that it is, part recruitment, but it's part too people wanting to actually
I mean,
be
I
a
know
part
people
of
that
it.
haven't done it, like they're taking the test and still don't get selected. Like, I mean, that's like a major sore eye for the city with a lot of people that I've communicated with, that we have zero diversity there.
Now, we just hired here recently, I will say, Francisco. And there's another addition to diversity, African American.
Yeah,
That was added to, he came to school, CBC,
Mhm.
and did the wrestling program, and waited for a while and did the testing to become a cop. But and then I think the chief has touched base on that, and Felicia, you clean up where if I kind of watch it a little bit. But they have like a certain criteria even in the testing that they have to go by, which that's something that they have in our,
Right, yeah, because I don't think they're just picking.
yeah, they're not just picking, just
Like it's
like, you get a
it's
card, you
based
get
on
a
your
card.
test, yeah, it's
It's
just
based on your
based
scores.
strictly on your scores. So. But I'll-
And that's something he has talked about in a public setting. He's talked about that in a couple of our forums, and that it's not like you do an interview. They have like a scoring mechanism that is CALIA based, if I'm not mistaken, for police that they have to go by.
It's like top 3. They can only, I know for the police, they can only pick, I guess he can pick any out of the top 3, and the rest, they'll have to go out of the scores.
But if the one is out of the top 3.
Yeah, so say if he wanted to pick a certain person, if they were in the top 3, he can say, hey, we're gonna hire that person no matter what.
And he's
Outside the one person though, it has to go scoring in order.
And that one person has to be in there. He's talked about
Like the top
how that
3.
works.
Yeah, it's like the top 3, he can pick one for sure, and then after that, it has to go by scoring. I'm pretty sure that's what they told me when I took the test.
Then I will say too, with that, even with, that's something that he's talked about as well in an open setting. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he mentioned it with us. What they used to have as far as people coming in to apply for positions, you don't have people that are racing to be officers like they were at one
And you
point.
don't have people racing to be
Firemen either.
Like if you look at a testing, like, so just say now, so I'll ask, for the next testing, how many people were in there, and then maybe get the breakup up there for you guys, so you can see at our next testing, we had 46 people,
Versus where we used to have
Yeah.
125
and how many
applied.
males.
I know when I did mine last year, it was stupid. It was a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't get those anymore.
There were so many
I know,
people.
we're,
There were so
yeah,
many people
no.
there. I think they had it broken up into like 2 or 3
2
classes too. Yeah, it was like it was so many.
No, we definitely don't have those. We can get through testing really quick now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, but no, that's something that we can definitely get that information and then just kind of look at it. And then like, what ideas do we have that, how can we create a buzz for diversity around fire testing? what can this council do? What can, Shawana do? What are some action steps we can take to, ensure that we are at least getting the information
Out there.
out there
Yeah.
to and target it. I mean, we want to target, diversity, so.
And that is something we have talked
That's,
about.
we
We
so,
just talked about that.
so,
Yeah, cause I was looking at it, I feel like they're gonna cheat and make me go to North Little Rock to get my stuff done and then come back.
Ooh.
Cause since I can't get on here without having all the stuff, if I go up there, I've already called up there with my background stuff. I can hire tomorrow up there if I want to. They don't have to go through the board stuff to pick to hire their stuff there. You can walk in and fill out an application as long as you qualify doing all the testing and the eval and all that stuff. As long as you pass all that, they can hire anybody they want to. They don't have to go to a board and pick and choose and go off their scores there. That's just something, and we talked about that, and I mentioned being in Conway, and they was like, yeah, and they told me that they were talking about it. They was like, yeah, Conway's so hard because they have all their board stuff and all this stuff that, they gotta do that and pick and choose who they hire. They said, we don't do that here. They said, if you come in, as long as you check everything off the list to be a police officer, they said, we can.
every department will be different, because some departments won't be accredited, so they won't have different accreditations, or they'll have a different accreditation and not the same one. So every department will be different, just so, because every hiring for every city looks different. Some cities like North Little Rock I don't think they're having a hiring issue. I think they could be fully staffed, and then other cities like Little Rock and Conway are having issues.
I'd like to, I'm a little late this year. I'd like to next year talk about some June diversity type items that we could talk about on the agenda for next year.
We'll talk about it next meeting.
Yeah, sounds good. Quiet.
Y'all be like, look at our brains a little bit. Like in our
I know, I was like,
It's like,
I'm already thinking like,
like, yeah, we'll talk about that one.
Kind of
no,
wonder,
I
but
think,
we'll talk about it next month, I guess.
No, I just figured we were too late to plan anything or to do anything, so I wanted to, while it was on my mind, throw it out there.
We had talked about that once, didn't we? Something for Juneteenth or.
Yeah, we did.
Well, that too, that as well. I have something else though.
but Juneteenth, we should be doing something. And hopefully we can announce that pretty soon.
Cool.
So,
I have some thoughts.
yes.
Will that be the first city of Conway Juneteenth? And I've never seen a Juneteenth celebration in Conway.
They celebrate it every year.
They celebrate it, so
Really?
NAACP
Okay.
does it, and they'll do
Okay.
one this year in Solomon
Awesome.
Park. So
Yeah.
they'll do,
Awesome.
and we'll get that information out to us, because I think there's a.
This is the
set-
18th.
there's
It's Saturday.
I think I do remember,
He does something every year.
yeah, music out at
CP.
Chris Allen stage. Okay, I do remember that.
But it'll be on the 18th this year.
Awesome.
But it is something going on every year in the city.
I remember, now that y'all said it, I remembered that. I'm glad that happens.
I'm so glad that red light's there.
You can strange
So I'm gonna turn it back over to Ralph.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Felicia, for everything. So I think we got enough to work on. As far as our June 9th meeting goes, if you guys want to check for the agenda purpose, kind of drop ideas. That way when we come, we won't discuss those ideas, but you can drop those ideas so that we'll kind of have a way of knowing what to kind of discuss and focus on for the agenda, whether for that purpose, like different things. I know we talked about different sessions with different people for next year, things like that. So departments or people you may want to hear from, dropping those things so that way our hour or so next on June 9th will be as productive as possible. we won't be brainstorming and talking about it. We could at least have the items down, and then we'll discuss those items at the meeting. So I'll ask that if you got anything that you would like to be discussed at by June 2nd, you need to have emailed me or dropped it in the Slack group. So you need to have it sent it to me. CC, if it's not in the Slack group, CC Shawan on it as well, please. And that way we have it, so whichever one of us works on the agenda, we'll make sure that it's done.
I'm going to the wrong part.
I was like, what did I say?
You say nothing wrong.
So yeah, that way we just take advantage of our time, and just so that we'll know we'll be planning for 2023, and so those ideas for different things could be done. And then we'll discuss the community roundtable on that day as well. So I just want to say, once again, appreciate you guys for showing up. I mean, I think it's a big accomplishment that we have made this year. We're in month 5 and we've been here all year. And so I just appreciative of that, because that just shows that we'll be able to do some things now that we hadn't been able to do before just because people wasn't here. So thank you for that. And then if I could have a motion to adjourn, we would do so.
So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.